She splashed in my pool like she owned the whole damn place. Her sunglasses caught the afternoon sun, and there I was, gripping the edge of my patio, knuckles white, doing everything I could not to let my temper explode. "You're trespassing," I said, steady but not yelling, the words echoing over the water. She just shot me this sideways grin and kicked her feet, all casual, and hollered back, "This whole neighborhood can use it if I say so." I swear, I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was just so outrageous. She didn't stop at just taking a dip. She had dragged along 2 of her girlfriends, wine glasses in hand, stretched out on my chairs like they'd checked in for a weekend getaway at a resort. My gut twisted up, but I just kept cool because, hell, I'd learned the hard way that blowing up just feeds folks like her. Instead, I reached for my phone, figuring if I had to deal with this circus, at least I'd have some proof. That's when she shot me a smirk and said, clear as day, "Call whoever you want. HOA backs me up. You're the outsider here." That one stung. Not gonna lie. What she didn't know, what nobody knew, was that the property deed had been transferred into my name last month. No one else on that street even knew it was official. She jumped out of the pool, trailing water everywhere, and stomped straight up to me, sticking her finger right into my chest. "You'll regret messing with me," she hissed, loud enough that her friends stopped laughing. I felt the anger pulse, but I just stared back and let a slow grin curl. "No, Karen, you're the one who'll regret underestimating me." That got her. Her friends looked at each other, suddenly not so sure they were at the right party. I could see it in their faces. And right then, I started forming a plan, one she would never see coming. If I played it right, her reign over my backyard would end, and not quietly either. Next morning, the chaos started early. Sun barely up, and I hear splashing again. I go outside, and there she is, floating around on a neon pink flamingo, waving at me like she's queen of some weird pool kingdom. 2 kids, not hers, by the way, were doing cannonballs, turning my backyard into a public splash zone. I yelled out, "Get out now." She just laughed, toasted me with her wine glass, then pulled out a laminated piece of paper, all dramatic, and slapped it right on my patio door. "By order of the HOA, this pool is for community use," she announced, like she was reading a proclamation. I'll give her credit. She really committed. There was some silly seal, probably something she whipped up on her computer after a couple glasses of Chardonnay. Her friends even clapped, cheering her on like she'd won some neighborhood election. Thing was, the notice looked official enough to fool someone if they didn't know better. And she leaned in, real close, and whispered, "One word from me, and the cops will drag you out of this house." I stayed quiet. My brain was on fire, but my face didn't show a thing. What she didn't know, while she was staging her little HOA takeover, was that I'd already set up cameras. Hidden ones, capturing every second. And last week, I made a call to someone who could change everything. "Enjoy your swim, Karen," I told her, turning away as her laughter bounced off the tile. My plan was just getting started. By evening, the temperature had dropped, but the tension was boiling. Suddenly, sirens. Red and blue lights bouncing off the houses. 2 patrol cars roll up, tires crunching on my driveway. I felt a lump in my throat. Was this about her, or was it about me? Karen, still dripping in her swimsuit, dashed over to the cops, finger pointed at me like she was unveiling some master criminal. "That's him," she yelled. "He threatened me and my family. He's dangerous." Cops didn't look at her, didn't look at me, either. Just did that slow, practiced walk up the drive. One of them, a guy I recognized, who'd been in my old army unit, no less, gave me the tiniest nod. "Sir, we received a report of harassment and trespassing," he said, voice all business. "We're going to need to talk to you." Karen folded her arms, the picture of smug satisfaction. Her friends clustered behind her, whispering like it was the season finale of a reality show. She figured she'd won, that her act would sink me for good. But what she didn't know, these cops weren't new to games like this. And the one I knew, he'd already checked the records before even getting out of his cruiser. He played along. "Ma'am, you're saying this is your property?" he asked. Karen puffed up, waving her official notice. "Yes, officer. I have the documents right here." He took the laminated page and held it up to the sunlight. You could see the cartoon stamp, spelling errors, even the watermark from some free online template. I almost snorted. "Ma'am," he said, slow and clear. "This isn't a legal document. Not even close." Karen faltered, her confidence flickering, but she wouldn't quit. You don't need papers. The HOA makes the rules. This pool is community property. Her friends, who'd been so supportive, started glancing at each other, realizing maybe they weren't as in the know as they thought. One finally piped up, "Wait, isn't this whole neighborhood like? Not even under an HOA." The look on Karen's face was priceless. That's when my old army buddy spoke. "Actually, we ran the records before we got here. The property, including the pool, belongs to him." He nodded toward me. "Title changed last month. His name's on the deed." Karen's jaw dropped. She had nothing to say. I finally stepped forward, arms crossed, and said quietly, "You've been trespassing, Karen. And everything's on camera." The second cop cleared his throat. "Is that true, ma'am? Did you enter without permission?" Karen flushed red, sputtering. "No, he's lying. He doesn't even belong here." But the first officer stepped closer, lowering his voice just for her. "Ma'am, you called us to arrest the wrong guy. The man you're talking to isn't just the owner. He's a decorated veteran. And he knows exactly how to handle this." Her face cracked, the mask finally slipping. "Veteran or not," she tried, "he can't keep this pool for himself. HOA rules are clear." The officer just stared her down, then tore the fake notice in half. "There are no HOA rules. This isn't even an HOA neighborhood." That was the last straw for her friends. One of them blurted out, "So, all those fines you gave us? They were fake." You could see the wheels turning as the neighbors gathered. People I barely even knew, suddenly all showing up, whispering and filming on their phones. One woman across the street yelled out, "So those notices you left on my door, those late fees, those were all just you?" Another neighbor, a guy with a thick stack of printouts, shook them at her. "You made me pay you $300 for a lawn violation." That's when the crowd shifted from curious to angry. People pressed in, some yelling, some laughing in disbelief. Karen tried to explain. No, I was keeping order, just trying to help." But it was too late. The officer beside me called out, "Everyone, please stay calm. This will be handled officially." But he couldn't stop it. Phones pointed, voices rising, the whole block getting a show. I tapped my phone and held it up. Video after video, Karen breaking into my yard, climbing the fence, dragging folks to the pool, mocking me as she swam. There it was, proof. She lunged for the phone, but the officer blocked her. "That's enough, ma'am. One more move, and you'll be in handcuffs tonight." Her eyes darted, searching for escape, her bravado melting into panic. "You can't do this to me," she pleaded, voice cracking. "I run this neighborhood. Everyone listens to me." I stared her down, calm as I'd ever been. "Not anymore." The officers exchanged glances. One grabbed his radio. The other said, so only I could hear, "We'll need to bring her in for questioning." Karen went pale. Neighbors pulled out their own phones, filming as she was finally put in her place. The flashing lights painted the street. Neighbors muttered, some angry, some just relieved. Karen, the so-called queen of the block, stood in the center of it all, dripping pool water and shaking under the weight of 100 eyes. All those fines, those threats, that fake authority, it collapsed in a single night. Her last words were barely more than a whisper. "I was just trying to help." Maybe she believed it. Or maybe it was just her way of holding on to what little power she had left. Either way, the neighborhood saw her for what she was, just another bully who finally got called out. And as they loaded her into the back of the squad car, people kept asking questions. What would happen next? Who else got scammed? Was she the only one? Maybe she'd face charges. Maybe she'd slink off and try the same act somewhere else. Who knows? But as for me, I finally got my backyard back. And let me tell you, there is nothing sweeter than peace and quiet after a war like that. Now, I'm curious, where do you stand on this kind of drama? Ever dealt with someone like that? Drop your thoughts below. Was I right to fight back, or did I go too far? Let's hear it. What would you have done if she'd splashed in your pool?